Aron Williams.
That's me.
One of the most hard-working people I think I have ever met. Where do you think that comes from?
Even I had my first full contact fight when I was about 8 in a club with everyone smoking, screaming, "Go on!" I remember one of the world championships they fought in. I was thinking, I don't want to do this. And I remember going in there and I just beat them on pure skill. If you can stand in a ring and fight someone that wants to kill you and a skilled fighter, anything else is really a joke. And then I ended up going on TV and it was called MTV The Valleys. But it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. Back again.
Aron Williams.
That's me.
I've known you for
a very long time.
Secondary school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So 20 plus years, 22 years. And you...
Look where we are.
You are probably one of the most hardworking people I think I have ever met. And I think...
Thank you.
Anyone in this room could probably say that. The first question I want to ask you is, where do you think that comes from?
From my sporting background. Parents, I think a massive part to play my parents. And as you know, I've been doing kickboxing and other sports all my life from a very young age. And I found that, that's why I try and portray that to people, that I think having that discipline and the drive and determination from a young age is important. To give you that sort of drive going forward as you get older as well. I think a massive thing for me was challenging myself and having, say with the fighting, having different defeats and stuff from a young age. It's all a learning process, isn't it? But starting kickboxing from a young age. I started when I think I was 4 or 5, and fighting all over the world as a young child and a teenager really gave me the drive that I did have and currently have now. So, yeah. That's one of the main things, I think.
We've grown up quite similarly, in the sense that, we grew up in the same area, same school, we've had the same chances, let's say. You spoke about your parents. What part do you think they played in that? In, shaping you into the person that you are today, being as sort of motivated and enthusiastic and as, pardon the pun, driven as you are?
So I've got massive credit to my parents, because without them, and I know it's cliche, a lot of people say this, without them I wouldn't be where I am now. They're a massive part of my journey. But as I said, from my young age, even I'll give you a quick story. I remember I'd train most nights of the week with the kickboxing from a young age. I'd finish school, I'd get in, have dinner, whatever, and I'd go straight to training then and probably do 3 hours, Monday to Thursday, and then on a Saturday morning. And I remember, on a Saturday morning, I'd always pretend to be sleeping and I'd have the quilt over me. And my dad, he was never scary, but very strict, but loving at the same time. And I remember him come up the stairs, because I'd always have my bedroom was always at the top of the house. And I'd pretend to sleep, and I'd be thinking, I just don't want to go today. And he'd come in and go, right, come on. But them days, and even all the fighting I did, I remember one of the world championships I fought in, and I remember 2 Russians, and they were always the scary ones, the Russians and the Kazakhstans. They were always the scariest. I remember we were in Greece, I think, at the time, and I was in the final of the world championship. I think it was my first or second world title I had, and the one Russian had knocked the other Russian out, and I think I was only 16. And I absolutely shit myself. I was thinking, I don't want to do this. And my dad was looking at me, and he wasn't all aggressive, but he'd slap my face and go, and that's why I always do this now. He'd go, come on, and psych me up. And I remember going in there, and I beat the shit into this boy. And I just by skill, he was swinging at me, and I was hitting the move, and I just beat him on pure skill. But anyway, I won. I was world champion again that day. But the whole thing was that all the stuff that I've done and I've had a loving but strict upbringing, and I think that's a massive part to play in whatever I've done. Is having, I know some parenting, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, they let their kids kind of do what they want to do. There was never any discipline or structure, and I think that's been a massive part to play. I feel like I had them always, not to answer to, but a bit of right, you need to get on with this, do that. And that's why I'm always so urgent and hardworking now, because I've had them on my back from a young age. So, yeah.
I think for anyone watching who doesn't really understand or has any sort of like context. Like
Yeah.
I know kickboxing has been such a like a massive, like a pivotal thing in your life, which is probably like taught you a lot of things later down the road, sort of thing.
Yeah.
When and how did you get into kickboxing? And tell us more.
So my dad again took me along. At the time, like you know yourself, there wasn't a lot of like rugby, and I know rugby's like prolific sport in Wales. There wasn't any like local sports teams. And I remember my dad taking me along, and I absolutely hated it. I used to go and cry. Like I was a proper crybaby as a kid. I would go along and cry, and I never wanted to train. But that's how I first got into it, really. My dad took me along. And I remember from the age of 5, like I don't really talk about it a lot with you a lot, but like, as you said, it's a massive part to play in my life. And up until maybe my early 20s, it was all my life, basically. And it stemmed on, which we'll go into in a bit, the other aspects of my life that I got into were from the kickboxing. But yeah, my dad got me into it. I remember training, I think I started when I was 4 or 5, and I had my first full contact fight when I was about 8 in a ring in Pontardawe, Swansea. And at the time, people could smoke in these rugby clubs. And I remember fighting this boy at the age of 8 with my top off. That's why I like having my top off all the time now. In a club with everyone smoking, screaming, "Go on!"
Yeah.
And if you think of it now, it's quite ruthless, really, to think that at 8 years of age, I was in a ring beating the shit into someone else, and he was beating the shit into me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'd do that, have a black eye, and then I'd go home and then go to school as if it was normal. But yeah, I've gone off tangent a bit now. But yeah,
no, I think it's really important because, like, I think that has obviously had like a massive influence on your attitude, your like, you know, your values, your core principles, like now, and what you've carried through into like later on in life. Like, I guess how do you think that has shaped you? Because you when did you stop kickboxing?
So I trained up until maybe I still train now, but I trained up until competitively until I was about 19, 20. And then I ended up going on TV and stuff then. So my career path and what I wanted completely shifted. I did have opportunities at the time to progress in the fighting world and go further. Like one of my training partners, Lauren Price, she was my training partner all the years I trained kickboxing. She's currently the world boxing champion women's.
Yeah.
So I could have potentially gone down that route of going professional even further with the fighting, but it kind of stopped then, and then I went down other avenues. And then I wanted to get back into the fighting the end of maybe about a year and a half ago, and I was ready basically to fight. And as you know, I had a big injury with my Achilles and stuff, which put on the back burner. I don't think I'd probably go back into the fighting now, but I'm still consistently training, not as much as I want to at the minute.
Yeah.
I hate using the B word, busy, but life takes over, priorities change, and so.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, there was probably could you pinpoint a moment whereby that pivot happened? Because like you are quite like I wouldn't go as well. Yeah, I'll use the term hustler. You love business, you love working. Like that's probably what's brought us to back together. Like, you know, 10, 15 years later. At what point did that pivot then, and you kind of like, I don't know, poured all that enthusiasm into like your businesses?
Yeah. So from the fighting to the business side of it. So I think what I learned was at the time in school, you do all this fighting stuff, and I could just see that what I was doing, I needed to earn a living for myself. I never wanted to work for anyone. I think being in a world where you do everything yourself, like the fight world, and I was never involved with like team stuff really. It was all down to me, and I knew if I trained or worked harder, the success would come with it. So I kind of established that in my mindset from my young age. I think a lot of people these days now have the aspect of they can see stuff online, whereas we didn't have that as much. I knew if I worked hard, success would follow. Yeah. And I wanted that from a young age, and I found that even slowly after the fighting, and like when we were 19, 20, I could see that I could use my expertise to do more, which is why I ended up going to the TV stuff and other businesses, because I could leverage my skill set in different ways. And I've always had this and that, like, is it my own sort of mindset? If you can stand in a ring and fight someone that wants to kill you, and a skilled fighter, anything else is really a joke, because to have no one, you can't express or explain the feeling of, doesn't matter what level you fight at, going in a ring and knowing that person, they, like, you go in your own world. It's like being on a drug or something. You like kind of like switch off, and then everything else is kind of, I don't know, easy then.
Nothing else really scares you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you kind of expose yourself to that sort of,
Yeah.
like, even now I get a bit like, I'm sweating a bit now thinking about, not like fighting, but it's the feeling around it.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, it kind of gets you gets you ready for the real life, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
that's good.
But that's a pivot, yeah.
Understanding the person that you are,
Yeah,
and how, you know, your earlier years has like shaped that. It's mad. You touched upon like the TV stuff.
yeah,
Do you want to go down that hole?
yeah. So like, we've known each other all our lives now. Me and now, like there was a point where, like, we both can comment, like in school, like we were very, like yourself as well, very quiet.
Yeah.
But more so yourself than me. We've always been like quietly confident people in our own ways, like yourself and me. And I've never really promoted, even though the TV stuff was more of a character, I've never really promoted or talk about myself and what I do and what I can do. So like with the kickboxing, I remember at the time there was a lot of talk about like a reality TV show coming to the UK or Wales.
Yeah.
And I'd always been, at the time, I was obsessed with training, always like really lean and in good shape all the time. And I could always, I never told him really, but I really, really wanted to get into like films and stuff at the time. Even though I was quite quiet, I knew that like there was something I could maybe do or get into some sort of TV stuff. And it was weird because at the time then, they were scouting for a new TV show that was coming to Wales. It has a bit of a stigma now and again, and it was called MTV The Valleys. So a lot of people watching might know what that program is. And yeah, I had the potential at the time to go on this show, which I ended up going. But it was more, I was training the one day, and these scouts, because at the time now you get like a message on Instagram and stuff, but they did like, they'd send scouts out and go to different places. And I had there was a girl and another lad came along to where I was training, and I almost had like a little interview. They come along, knew I was there, interviewed me, and told me to come down. It was like 2 weeks later, meet us at the Marriott Hotel in Cardiff at this time. And I remember thinking, oh God, like, I was scared. But at the same time, I remember going to my dad, like, oh, it might be a potential here. I was only 19.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, well, oh, it might be something here for me. Like, I don't know. And yeah, I just remember like looking at like online and stuff and trying to work out. And there was a similar show at the time, Geordie Show, which was running. And all I could think was it going to be the way they portrayed it was slightly going to go down that route? But yeah, that's how I ended up getting into it. And I remember going into the Marriott Hotel in Cardiff, and I knew that I had to play up a little bit in order for them to like me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a massive part in even the business world now, is relating to different sorts of people. I mean, like portraying to be a certain character, but just being able to change the way you are depending on the situation. So yeah, I just ended up having a conversation with some like film directors and whatever, and ended up, yeah, it was a long process, but I ended up, yeah, that was the entry point then for the next phase of my life, I suppose. So
yeah. And I mean, how long was that whole phase, like filming and everything? And I guess even the whole aftermath of it, because I'm sure, like, you know, once we even finished the show, there was like a huge buzz around, because you were in the limelight sort of thing for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, but even before lockdown, like there was always potentials of us doing more from it. And I know at the time, well, I was in university at the time, and I literally dropped everything for this TV show. Ended up going on there, and the whole process then, I was literally thrown into the limelight in a matter of like 6 months. Everyone at the time knew about the show. It was all over like the world, basically. It was massive in Australia. Like I remember even going to Dubai at the time, and people like literally would recognize me everywhere. It was weird. So I went from being this, I don't know, like local sporty person, I suppose, to like some, well, people see me as like well, they can't call me the Welsh Jean-Claude Van Damme. So it was like some kickboxing personality online. But yeah from there then, that like it went on for a few years then. So we ended up filming like the first series, and which went on for 10 weeks, which was I enjoyed it, but it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. There was a lot of stuff like couldn't speak to your family. I didn't have any. It's kind of very like lonely world. So people think that we're in that world. It's very like, but you're very lonely because everyone just wants you. I found then I learned a lot about myself and other people. People just wanted me for favors. Yeah. You've learned like your true friends and who really the people you want in your life and whatever. But that went on for a few years then, and I kind of went on TV. I was like just in events with different celebrities all the time, like going out with you likes of Joel Corey and Towie people and all these. I remember I used to go to like some of the UFC events with Alex Reed. He was like used to go with Katie Price at the time. We used to go along together, and it was like all these people I was surrounded by. It was weird. I was just like in a different world, just traveling around the UK, going to different events, and that's all I did for years then. But I ended up moving, so I spent a lot of time in London, and then I ended up moving, and I met a girl, but I ended up moving up to Durham for a few years then. But off the back end of that then, like I did loads of different, like I'd go to different nightclubs and just appearances, and I did a bit of filming with Big Brother and stuff. I had like all sorts. Did you? Yeah, did 2 weeks filming in Big Brother house. Yeah. Honestly.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, it didn't, yeah. So, yeah, I had loads of other like potentials. Like at the time, I got offered a fight contract in, I think it was Cage Warriors at the time, a 3-fight deal at the time, but this was like early 20s. But I don't talk about this. I had a lot of like different potentials, but I think the hardest thing is trying to work out who you are, what you want to do. And I always see the longevity in things. I won't do anything for just a quick fix. Well, a lot of people will because they think of money. Yeah. And I always try and channel things in, okay, what's the potential of this and the long-term gain rather than just the short-term satisfaction.
Yeah. I suppose when you're getting a lot of opportunities thrown at you, it's easy to jump at the first one, but it's a case of, choosing the right ones.
Yeah.
That aligns with what you want to do and not getting like caught up in the the glitz and glam of everything. And I suppose. Yeah, you went on the valleys. And then off the back of that, then you've obviously like set up like your own businesses. At what point did you decide, right, I was gonna pursue something else and decide to go down like the business route over everything else?
So I think the main thing, as I said previously, is the longevity of something. And I knew in my head that I had a bit of fame out of what I was doing, but it was going to be short-lived, and it's never forever thing. You see with celebrities all the time that, and at the time, not like in a big area, it was massive everywhere I went. Like it was insane. I could kind of get in anyway, could do anything. Like I remember any nightclubs I go to, it's a weird thing. Like vehicles, I remember like if I wanted a car, like I had a car from a company for a bit, and like all sorts of different stuff sorted for me. But I think the main thing that I knew was all the success and fame and the bit of money I had out of it. I had to think, right, I need to do something with this, where a lot of people don't do that. So I just used my brain and thought, right, I need to invest this into different avenues to make a life for myself. Yeah. So I the first thing I did to start with was I started like a personal training sort of company where that's where I started really my own thing, which I loved. I did a lot of stuff with the TV stuff, like at the back end of it, like product stuff for companies. Like I'd post and I'd have money from that and the appearances, but that started to dry up then. So I was still doing bits of that for years and years after. And then I focused more on the personal training side. So I'd go to like fancy I lived up in Durham town. I'd go into fancy hotels where I knew people would have money to pay for my services. And I just literally created a brand and started training people, which was very like lucrative at the time. I really enjoyed it, but it was you're more of an agony aunt for people. And it stemmed from there then. And I found a premises then. And I created over maybe a year and a half then, found a premises, bought equipment and started a gym there then at the time. And it grew from there. So I was doing personal training classes and then people using the gym. And I found myself surrounded by an environment which I was really, like, as you know, I like the early mornings and late nights, and I just want to work all the time. So that's where I channeled a bit of my time and efforts into then was, the fitness game to start with. So, but I always dabbled in a bit of marketing subconsciously because with the TV stuff, I was always posting for myself and other people, and kind of learned early that you need to build a brand in order to have a business.
Yeah.
And I knew how important having that established digital presence from a young age was very crucial going forward. What I really wanted to do myself at the time was do what we're doing now and other bits, but I was limited to sort of like contracts and stuff that I was in at the time to do what I really want to do while I was in the limelight. So, but I've always been a private person, but I'm willing to do it if I know that it's going to be like a business out of it or whatever, rather than promote myself. But from there, then I went into a bit of marketing, really. So we dabbled in a bit of this stuff that we do before. Because I was doing it for companies and stuff anyway. Like I just helped people out, and I was promoting my own stuff all the time through like just posting and just like the odd video and stuff like that. Because at the time it was just Twitter really was the main thing at the time, which I did a lot through. And I used to do stuff with nightclubs and stuff as well. So I'd like help promote other nightclubs. And I'd turn up as well and do a lot of like their posting and stuff. So I was doing that from like similar sort of stuff we do now, but at like an earlier age. And then I went on to, so I kind of wanted to move back home after a few years of being up there. I was like, I just missed my family. I always wanted to succeed. Like I had different thoughts at the time of moving away. Maybe I'd move to Dubai because I was going to Dubai quite a bit at the time. And I just had so many different avenues. I was doing so well up there. I didn't want to move home. Because the business, I was going to schools and doing like different fitness classes in schools. I had a good like portfolio of different stuff going on in the fitness game. But yeah, I ended up moving home and opening another premises. As you know, you've helped me a lot with the early days and currently with the branding and other video stuff, which has been a massive part to play in the success of the business. So Fresh Active, as you know, very successful gym in this area, like health club, and it stemmed from there. So I kind of went into the coffee game. So got like a coffee shop with a gym side, got like a coffee van business now as well. And it just built off different revenue streams off the back end of that then. But yeah, so it's all been like fitness kind of, but one of the main ingrained components of the success behind has been the marketing and how you brand and that perception of the brand to the public or your end user, I think is very important. So
that's where we kind of like line back up. Like I think we kind of broke off in school, went to different universities. And then when you obviously opened Fresh Active is when we started working together. And I could see like from, day one, you had changed like massively, and probably you did with me as well. Because we were both like relatively quiet and reserved in school, and now we kind of like done a lot of growing in those like early years. But I realized like you could see how much you valued this stuff because you had that first-hand experience like quite early on in the power of it. So, and you could tell like, with all the things that we were, obviously like I live in this world and I kind of like did all the design, marketing, that kind of stuff. But it was quite hard sometimes to, as we have found, to get people to understand sometimes the value of it and the power of it. So you could tell straight away that you valued it. How pivotal was it, I guess, for like Fresh and like the success of it then?
So I think when I did the other gym, I had a practice run before doing this, and I knew from the start and right at the beginning, I knew the fundamental success would be on brand perception.
Yeah.
Again, the right sort of people involved in the business. So, and I mean like people using the gym, because it's a very like private sort of like thing, like going to a hairdresser or whatever.
Yeah.
And I knew that from the start, again, the branding was key. Like it had to be spot on because it's such a deterrent for people where they can feel intimidated or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's when I asked you to get involved from the start, and I with certain aspects of the branding, how things looked, like you come up with colours and stuff. Obviously, yellow is one of the main is the main brand color. And even from like, I don't know, the fonts and stuff used, it's just been a massive part to play in all the success of the start. Like even like when we opened, people thought it was a chain because the branding was so powerful.
Yeah.
And I think it puts you in a strong, like, credible position to start with then, before you even open. But yeah, like I said, before I had a bit of a practice run, this one then, it was my focal point was to make sure that what we were creating was very visually, but people just from all aspects could understand the brand, the business, what we did. So we find that's a massive problem now, is trying to explain to people what you're about, to who you are as well. So
would you say Fresh was your, prior to this, your biggest success business-wise?
Yeah, business-wise, yeah. So even though we're based in Tredegar, I think I've always tried to keep the success under the radar, but it's very successful. Like, we've been open 7 years now. And it is the biggest venture, obviously, before doing this, to date, really. So, yeah. But it's good to have you have the multiple revenue streams off the back of the gym then as well. So, yeah.
And can you pinpoint any, like, were there any, like, particular failures that you learned from, like, that contributed to the success of that?
Yeah. So we talk a lot about this, don't we? That a lot of people out there kind of talk the talk but don't walk the walk, and a lot of people comment on certain things but have never gone through, like, when it's going good, it's easy, but when it's going tough, like, when it's tough, that's the bits that people never talk about. And there's been a lot of, like, downs in that game where it's been really, really hard.
That's what you sign up for, though.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and I mean, like, really difficult, because, like, up there now, I've got like part-time and full-time. We've got more than, I think there's about 12, 13 staff.
Yeah.
So I know some companies might have hundreds of staff, but to have, like, a company where you have to pay people like, every month, and the pressure. And at the time, like, we had a lot of, like, it was like COVID, and, like, I thought I was going to lose everything through COVID, because I remember having, like, X amount of members, like a large amount of members, and it went from all their members to about 153 people still on the books. And I couldn't believe it, because even though it froze everyone's memberships and stuff, there's a lot of people I still know now that supported us throughout the process. But I put a lot of, like, my own savings and stuff to keep the business going, which I'd accumulated over the years, and still were paying after when we reopened for stuff as well. So, like, even COVID, like, other competition, like, other gyms have opened and stuff, where I remember, like, other gyms had opened early on, and I put all my money and savings into this business. And I remember the first year we did hundreds of thousands the first year. And I remember after the first year, another big gym opened, and then, like, near enough half the members left. And I thought, oh my God. So there was different, like, moments where, but as you know, I'd always have a plan in place, which I told you about, which is important, which is a lot of people don't do. They kind of try and sort a problem when it's too late, rather than pre-planning, and people react when something happens, whereas I will pre-plan in order to get you through the tough times. But COVID, I thought I was going to lose everything. Like, I know other people out there, they go, oh yeah, you had grants and stuff. Yeah, I had a grant of 21 grand. Yeah, that's enough for 1 month to cover the bills and overheads. So it's all relatable to the level of the company you're in. Some people I know might have a little sole trader company and they'd have 21 grand, is game on. But for me, it was trying to keep everything going. But that shaped me into even stronger, more determined, enthusiastic person I am now from the hard times. Because, like I said, when it's going easy, it's a joke, isn't it? It's like, but it makes you more skilled and stronger when the bad times happen. So,
what would you say is your, like, strongest attribute that has got you through everything, or that you've learned over the years that has, like, kept you going, has kept you motivated, kept you enthusiastic, and has like bloody hardworking as you are? Like, what do you think that's the thread is through it all?
I think there's two main things. The one thing I learned as well over the years, where something really, really bad would happen, like horrendous, like, I don't know, like, to me, some days I generally thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose everything. Everything's game over. But I know to myself, when something bad happens, like a week down the line, it's normally sorted and it's fine again.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to give yourself time not to react on your emotion, because a lot of people react decisively when emotion hits. So you've got to kind of like bring the emotion out of what you're doing, and kind of be emotional to the day-to-day running of something.
Yeah.
And just think logically to the situation at the time. So I think that's one of the main things.
Yeah. I think a lot of people in our position, whereby you have to make like quite difficult decisions sometimes. You have to separate yourself, your business self to your like personal self. Because, you know, more often than not, it's not anything personal. It's just you have to do it, you know.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of businesses make redundancies and they're not doing it like, you know, willy-nilly. They're doing it like, and it's a really fucking difficult decision to make, but they have to do it, you know, with their business head on and not with their like personal head on. Like,
yeah. Oh no, and you've always got to be like headstrong and don't show any emotion to anyone else. Like even with the gym, like I said, over lockdown, I was putting on my own money, didn't pay myself, but everyone else still got paid and everything was fine to everyone else. Whereas to me, and maybe other people out there, I thought it was all coming to an end.
Yeah.
But I know like you've just got to keep determined, and I know that you can only keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I know at some point then it will be fine. You just got to keep, like you know what I'm like, there's always an answer. There's always a way to do something, and I'll just figure out, my biggest thing is I'll figure a way out of how to do it, or how to get things over the line, or to get, that's what I'm like. I just keep going until it's done.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main, that's why I get frustrated with, we get frustrated with things, because people don't think the same and are not willing to do what it takes to get to where you are, and haven't have to been in the position that we have been as well.
Yeah.
So I think I know what it's like to be in a tough position. It kind of gives you more grit then to fight through.
It's realizing that every problem can be solved.
And
that's
everything.
That's all business is problem solving. So cool, that's the next hurdle. How do we fix it? Cool, fixed it, move on. And I think you do kind of like learn that sometimes the hard way, don't you? I think.
Yeah. I think like for us and like other stuff I've done as well myself, the hardest bit is if you've got to have full control of everything and do it your way and all of it and be involved in every bit, it's always fine. As soon as you start delegating, which I found it hard to do, you kind of, things do slip slightly sometimes. And I find that, but you have to do it as part of the process and learning to be able to give parts of what you do to other people to grow. Because otherwise you can't grow when you kind of like in the work, you're just working in your company rather than growing the business itself.
Yeah.
So
something that's always stuck with me is that if I was told that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, like go together. And that's something that's like always stuck with me, because it's one of my biggest problems is delegating, being so precious around like creative and like relinquishing some of that like responsibility to other people has been one of my like biggest like setbacks. It's been holding me back essentially because, you know, if I'm doing all the work, like it'll always hit a ceiling and we can't get past it. So you have to as a creative person. So
yeah, but for yourself, like your standards are higher than anyone knowing the work you do. Like I always big you up to everyone, don't I? And your standards are there. So I find this like for you and for me in other aspects, we get disappointed then because you expect a lot from people, but you'll never have the same appreciation or expectation that you have for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think I found that learning that as well, that people don't think or have the same expectation as what we will have, makes things a lot easier then, because I'm not saying everyone's the same, but when you do your own thing and you're so passionate and you put the love and drive into something, like it's our own, it's like what we do at any business that someone owns is your baby essentially. So you want it done, but you just, you get disappointed sometimes by people if it's not done as good as what you can do. So, but you have to delegate in order to grow.
Regrets over everything that we spoke about through, like, you know, kickboxing, TV, you know, your multiple business ventures. Any regret?
No, I actually haven't, because a lot of people live with regret. But I know at every point of where I've been, I'm so, as you know with me, I'm very urgent with everything I want it done. And I know people say this, but literally, like if someone messages me, like you message me, I'm literally on stuff straight away. There's no lack of urgency with me. So I know that everything I've done up until now has been, I'll act on things straight away. So I don't think you can live in regret then, knowing that I've done everything to the max every time.
Yeah.
Like I've maxed as much as I can out from every avenue up until this moment. Like I wake up stupid o'clock. I go to bed whenever I do every day. And I've always been the same. So I don't know what else I could have done. You always want more. And I don't mean more in a materialistic way. I mean more like, I don't know, like success or more like feeling of success. Not so much like the money side of it, but growing wherever you're growing. But no, no regrets really, which is surprising really, because a lot of people do have regrets.
Oh, okay, anything you do differently?
Maybe one thing I would have 110% done, which is not a big thing really, is when I did all the TV stuff, is capitalize on doing what we're doing now, like growing a more of a personal brand, and not for my own self or ego, to create more businesses off the back end of it. But I was limited at the time, as I said, with contracts and stuff, and there wasn't as big a platform as there is now to do what we are currently doing. Because at the time you had like Twitter, Facebook, things like Instagram and these other platforms were just like, weren't at the forefront. They were only breaking through. So I think if I'd done the TV stuff a bit later on and I had a bit more of a businessy head on me, like I do now, maybe I could have capitalized on that. But apart from that, no. Like even the thought of, I could have gone down the fight game. I had like different opportunities to pursue going into being more professional in the fighting and stuff. But I don't think the longevity would have been there, because what we are doing and my other stuff that I've created, it's never going to go. It's just going to keep growing. Yeah. So, no regrets really.
No.
Or maybe I don't think I would have done much different. Maybe reconnected with you earlier.
Going back to your time on the Valleys, would you say there was anything that was like particularly eye-opening to you about, maybe let's not go as far as like the show, but like the industry and getting involved in that game?
So I think like people talk a lot about mental health and stuff. Like I've always been really, really determined and strong, but what you'll find in the reality game at the time, like a lot of the people that filmed or the production companies didn't care about us, didn't care about me. They just literally want to use you to get what they need out of you and then chuck you away, sort of thing. Yeah. But I knew in the back of my head that was the case. The others didn't. So I think a lot of people, like you've seen, and it's serious, like you've seen like people commit suicide and stuff. I've always been really, like I've always been quite stable in my own mindset. And I've always talked to my parents if I've ever felt a certain way. But there's no like care in that industry. You're used and abused. So there is literally, they don't care who you are, what you do. They just want to know, I can make good TV out of them. And then when they're done with you, it's like, who's next? You see a lot with Love Island. They change the cast of all time. They know, right? Oh, he looks good. She looks good. It's all image driven. So they get you in depending on what you look like. They'll get you in front of the camera, do what you have to do, and kind of like manipulate you as well in a certain way. But I see through that, because even though I was only 19, 20, early 20s, I wasn't as naive as other people to believe. And as you know, you can look online, I left after the first series on my own accord, purely because I knew that what they wanted, I was willing to do. Yeah. Because they asked a lot of me, and you know what I'm like. I'm not the person I was in that show. And I got asked a lot of me, and I knew I'd play up a little bit just for TV's sake, but there was a limit to what I would do. Because they'd even have us, like you'd sit down in like a green screen and they'd give you lines and you'd reiterate them back. And I wouldn't know if they were about you or anyone else in this room. And it's not like a nice feeling, but in the back of my head, I knew, oh, look, it's only for a bit of TV or whatever. And it did help in a way for certain aspects of my life. But at the same time, there was only a limit. And after that first series, I wasn't going to do it again, because I knew that this is not me. I kind of gauged that they were using me, and I didn't want anything else to do with that particular series. And after that, but I think now, like a few people like Caroline Flack, there's a few other people have committed suicide over time, being involved with companies and people. And I think social media and the involvement of people and commenting and stuff has a massive part of it as well. Yeah. So you haven't touched really base on them. Like I had a lot of messages, people like saying, "Oh, go and kill yourself." Like ex-girlfriends, I'd have them like targeting them. I had all sorts, but I would literally like, you know what I'm like, I'd message them like, "Wait, look on, where do you live?" Because I don't care. Where some people would really, and I mean that, some people would really like shit themselves and terrified, but I would literally like message them like in a psychotic way and be like, right, if you want it, you can have it, sort of thing. But only because, not because I feel like a mob, but I don't like people taking a piss out of anyone.
Yeah.
Like I embrace and big everyone up around me.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about myself now because we have to, but I just want to talk about everyone else and big everyone else up.
Yeah.
But if someone like targeted me or yourselves or anything, I'm the first person there to defend anyone.
Yeah.
But it is a scary world, really, if you're not tough. And if you are emotionally strung, I'd highly recommend staying away from anything to do with reality TV.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It was quite eye opening for me because I knew, like, was seeing you on the show that wasn't you at all. I was like, oh bloody hell, he's changed. But like having a little bit of experience, like behind the curtains and knowing what goes on, and they manipulate the stories to make it like a more interested one for viewers, engagement, and all that kind of crap. Like I knew like that wasn't you, so I kind of like respect that decision because at what point are they? Is enough is enough. How many people, are they just gonna like rattle through at their expense to just get, an interesting story?
Well, I remember at the time, like I filmed the first series. Like I don't know exactly what I can say up until now because I'd signed a lot of stuff and I don't know what could be said. But I remember filming all the first series, getting out there. And then I remember the point after I left and until like a year after, I was like in a contract where it was like conflict of interest agreements with all stuff in there. And I didn't have like a big legal team at the time. Didn't have a solicitor or anything. And I put myself in a bit of a position where I couldn't really do anything for a while. And I remember finishing what I was doing. And I remember I was in a bit of a bubble for a few months trying to work on my life. And I was like in a position where I couldn't do anything. And I was having like threats from people and like the TV company at the time were like limiting what I could do, didn't want me to do anything, didn't want me using my personal brand to kind of do more for myself. But I'm like, as you know, there's a lot of stuff that may have happened at the time, but I don't really talk about it because in my head I deal with it in my own way and I don't really get emotionally attached to it. But yeah, it's a mad process, really.
To what extent then do you think like, or did they go to manipulate like the stories? Are there any particular moments where you thought, that's a bit too far? Can they really do that?
Yeah. So the first time that I really felt like, oh my God, I worked it all out sort of thing was, so we'd go on like nights out and stuff, and they always wanted, like the show was all about like kind of like Geordie Shore, where they'd want to promote this promiscuous behaviour and interacting with other like me trying to pull girls and stuff. And at the time, like I was a young teenager or older, well, 19, 20, whatever. And that kind of image was very much promoted across the valleys in the UK, like the drinking culture, going out, pulling girls and stuff. And I remember the first time it really hit me was they'd slam, like we didn't pay for any of it, they'd slam the drink into us. They put loads of like alcohol. I know it's your decision to drink or not, but they'd literally hammer the drinks into you, right? Go on, like set, put a VAP up, loads of drink, as much as you wanted, have bottles of vodka, you'd like tip vodka in people's mouths. It was just mental, like carnage. But I knew in the back of your heads that they're doing it for a reason, because when you're drunk or you have alcohol in your system, it's better TV for them. And they'd go to me like, oh, look, I don't know, like if there was any nice girls in the crowd, they'd want you to engage with them. And then they'd bring them over, but they'd always make them sign like a disclosure agreement beforehand. Yeah. But they'd promote the alcohol, the drinking, the consumption that we'd consume. It was unreal. And they'd want you to engage with women as well, if you know what I mean. They'd want you to take them back, and they promoted the behaviour, which they could probably argue that they didn't to a certain extent, but they did, and that's what they wanted to create, because that's what they put on the show. I know there'd be certain bits where like nice stuff would happen, and people think that is all happens. It is scripted, man. Like not to a massive, I'd say subscripted. So they put you in a position. Like I remember the one girl, Nicole, like they made out as if we were like in a relationship, and really I wasn't really close with her at all. And from like an outside perspective, it's quite like same with Love Island. Like a lot of it, I guarantee, because I've been in that position, none of it's real. People think that these couples are together, but they're not. They just kind of think who's going to create the best TV gold. Oh, she looks good with him. And they'll take him aside and go, look, we recommend you to speak to them. When they do this casting more to try and they just try and create drama to try and create a good TV show. And they did the same with me. And I knew they were doing that. Yeah. Like I remember I went on this date with a Nicole in there, and she was in this restaurant. It was only next door, mind, to the where we were staying, which is mad. And we walked in, and she was sat there. And I remember walking in, they gave me flowers. And then when they went in, they were like, "Oh, give the flowers over." And she was like, "Oh, you bought me flowers." And I'm thinking, man, fuck me. Like, I look like a proper, I don't know, it was all set. Everything in that regard was set up to just make TV. And then I remember, like, on a night out there, and I ended up speaking to another girl, and they made out then as if I'd really, like, ruined the relationship with this girl. And I'm thinking, well, they created a show around individual characters. It really it wasn't real. And, like, I remember the one boy, Darren, that was in there. They kind of made the show about him. Whereas off camera, he was the quietest out of the bunch. But they made him as, like, the forefront of the show, and he's a ladies' man. And he wasn't at all. He's the complete opposite. But it's just mad how the power of I don't know,
how they
TV
manufacture it all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, like, it's why they have you sign everything to protect themselves. And, they're probably all legally fine.
Yeah.
But like you said, like, how they encourage that kind of stuff by whatever means is kind of like a bit.
I don't think you could do it now. And I remember at the time, like, they plonked a load of like 19, 20, early 20-year-olds in a house, slam a load of alcohol in, kind of take you on nights out, push you into doing certain things. It's obvious, like, what they're trying to do without even telling you. Yeah. Like, what they're trying to create. But I kind of knew that, and I had a limit of what I was willing to do.
Yeah.
And, like, people like yourself knew, even at a young age, that wasn't really me. But I knew I had to do some of it to a certain extent to get screen time. I knew in my head I could use it to my advantage.
Yeah.
And I know a bullshit, because then after, if I wanted to be in the fame, I would have continued with it and didn't care. I left because I didn't want to be involved in it anymore. Yeah. And I knew, like, that was my limit. I'd done a little bit of it, and I can use it to my advantage. So,
But, like, it's sad because, like, people who don't have any kind of understanding about the industry and how it works, like, they believe that. General public will believe everything that, like, gets put in front of you, and that's potentially quite damaging for you or anyone involved in the show, because I mean, they determine how the public will perceive you. Yeah, ultimately, and I don't like. I'm not saying I'm a massive advocate of him, but a lot of people know what's his name, Andrew Tate, and people like this in the world now. Not to bring a name up like him, but you don't have any proof either way what's real or not with the shows and how things are edited online. Yeah, especially then, like, I could be talking to you now like this, and then sat here a week later in the same outfit, and they could edit two of them clips together and make it look the context and the positioning was at the same time. Yeah. And I found that as well quite scary, where certain situations will happen. I'd be talking to someone and I'd do something else, and they'd amalgamate two of the clips together to make it look like that was part of that. And then I'd say something, and they'd bring that in to say if I said it about a different person. And some of the stuff I'd be looking at it thinking, that's very sly, because it portrayed me then sometimes as if I was two-faced. As if I was talking about you, but really I was talking about someone else. Yeah. And that's another scary thing that they can do. But at the end of the day, you're a number. Also, all they're looking to do is to make money and make a good TV show. Yeah. And they'll just, like, weave any story together. Yeah. Like they used to do expense. Yeah. But they used to do in the media, if you know, like, it's in, like, newspapers and magazines. If you noticed, there was always, like, Katie Price would be in the magazine every other day. Jordan. Oh, she's done this, so-and-so's done that. But now you don't see it anymore, because I know, like, there's certain laws and they brought different things in now where you can't lie as much about certain things. I can't remember the law now. They did bring a actual thing in where you can't I don't know, bend the truth as much anymore. But people just make stories up for nothing just to get money. So I guess looking forward then with like, with, you know, the business that we've got now. Yeah, to the main bit. And plans for the future. Like, I guess even, you know, around this and beyond this, like, what keeps you driven? Yeah. And what keeps you sort of, like, going, what's the plans for the future?
So if we go to the point where, I don't know, maybe how this started, I think where we were both at, you kind of have all your experience and stuff and the learning behind. It's like a practice run. And I find that up until then, you're doing all these different things. You can like home in all these skills and see a gap in the market. And that's what I like approached you in, because I always wanted to do this sort of stuff again. But I knew that, like, I know yourself very well and you're very perfection what you do. And I knew in order to be able to do this, I'd have to team up with someone like yourself in order to make, like, it looks the bollocks, like the branding, the way we are as a business, whatever. So, like, that's my plan going forward, is just to build this company, which is going very well. We've got like a good team of people and a strong established business already after, what's it been, 16 months, if really, since we started talking at the start.
Yeah.
So my goal and your goal of both of us together now is to just keep driving this business and keep growing the team. And like, we've got like a really nice like aura about the company already, of me internally and externally. And just keep growing as a business, keep providing the services that we do. And I think one of the main things I really want to tackle personally is trying to decipher or explain to people what this process is and digital marketing is, because every company out there now needs this service. That's not a comment, that's a fact. Because I know from my own experiences up until now and where I am at, I'm not a millionaire, but not far off. No, but
literally about to say that.
But I know up until now that one of the crucial things I've done is getting all this bit right.
Yeah.
And we know personally other big companies out there that are up and so you have companies that started before 2000, like the 90s or before, built up through other, I don't know, just naturally over time, and they are all finding now that I have a plateauing or going down because they're not utilizing any digital presence or anything online. New start companies now coming through are all reliant on this game. So we just seen a gap in the market, but I know going forward, a main thing I want to try and tackle across our content and when we meet other businesses is trying to just educate people on the importance of this practice, because without this, really now, you're not going to sustain your business in any way.
Yeah.
So
it's demonstrating the value of it as well. We talk about it all the time, don't we? About it's not just a handful of posts. It's so much more than that. Like, I think a lot of people tend to jump in this position and call themselves like social media expert and just post stuff.
Yeah.
There's so much more,
yeah,
that goes into it, isn't it?
And like when we have meetings, I always like big you up and stuff, don't I, with your skill set. And people, even from a production point of view, just think, oh yeah, right, like you come along, you click your fingers with the camera, and then, I don't know, that even the day before they want the footage that you filmed.
Camera spits out the video and then you just post it, right?
But it's such, and that's another thing in this game as well. I think it's educating two things maybe, is trying to decipher the old digital marketing, online presence, social media game, and trying to explain to people where I think you do need a company like us to do it properly.
Yeah.
I don't think now, years ago, you could do a few posts yourself and kind of like I did it myself back in the day, where you get a good bit of branding done and you could kind of manage your social media yourself. But now it's such a complex process, as we know, changes every month, even day to day sometimes, that you need like a delegated company on board that has all different people. Like here we have different experts in the field internally in our business, just to tackle the challenges we have with the companies that we have on board. So,
Aside from the business then, personally, life. I know work-life balance. Do you think you've got that right?
So like a lot of people talk about this on podcasts, and a lot of these like multimillionaires, and I think at the point we are at now, I look at it as, I don't know, like I look at my life as in different phases. And I seen a good analogy the other day on a podcast where like you have all these plates spinning, and the whole task is to try and keep all your plates spinning, and because you have like your family life, your personal sort of health and fitness and stuff, and then your business side of it. And I think without the one, you kind of don't feel fully fulfilled. And I felt like at the minute, it is literally like I've always trained. I'm training less than ever at the minute. Like I've got the best girlfriend, like great relationship, got her own house and stuff, amazing. But I don't spend enough time with her. I don't give her enough time I should. My family kind of slipped at the minute. I don't give as much time for them. And there's nothing to, I'm not saying I'm more important or more busier than other people, but I feel like, and you know, because I text you, I wake up like 4:30, 5, and I'm not even joking, 5 o'clock most mornings, and I'm literally go straight into my office. I do probably 2-3 hours before I come here, or even I go up the gym early, and I don't get into like, I don't know. So I know you get in late as well, but some days I don't get in till 7 or 8, or I'll do stuff and I go to bed with my laptop on my stuff, like in bed, and I fall asleep. And then I wake up again.
Yeah.
And it's been like that for maybe, I don't know. I think before I went through a patch where when I first opened the gym, I had a good work-life balance. I used to go fishing and do other bits and bobs. Whereas now I think it's all work. I don't train. Again, a bit saggy here now at the minute and whatever.
But I think it's important to recognize like different people. You do say it quite often. Like different people have different tolerances, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, for people like us who this is our lives, this is what we signed up for, and this is what we enjoy. We will naturally work more than other people because of how much we enjoy it. And I say it's more of a I don't like to call it like work-life balance. It's more just like it's a lifestyle, isn't it? Like my work is my life. And I think that probably goes for you as well. It's just like not trying to like see them as a distinction. Like there's a fine line. I'm either in work mode or life mode. It's just trying to get a healthy balance between the two, I think. But are you looking to like change it in any way? Would you change it in any way, or?
And that's a good question. Like, I think another thing to, like you said, is passion. Like, you're very passionate. I'm very passionate myself. But changing wise, if you think, when I sit there some days, like yesterday, I was exhausted yesterday because we had a very busy day to me from all angles. And I know, like most people, I know these big people might have multiple companies, but we're still at the level where we're very much involved with the day-to-day stuff in the trenches, I call it, of your businesses, as well as overseeing everything. And like between everything now, like obviously with this as well, I've got only 20 staff now between everything as well. I know some are part-time or whatever, but trying to manage all these, and even with the gym, we've got like the coffee side, the coffee van, all the gym side of it, and it's quite a lot. And then with this, and we're trying to grow this. It's a lot to keep on top of.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like overwhelmed?
Yeah, but that's what were you saying about tolerance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel like we're gone.
Different people have different tolerances, right?
Yeah,
like thresholds and stuff.
Yeah, I think for us, we're at the stage where growing it's not always going to be like this. So I think you had to stick in there, keep going and going, knowing it's not going to always be like this forever. But some moments I sit there and think, okay, if I had everything pulled away from me now, and I didn't have the responsibility or the problem solving that I face every day, and I think I would become, not I would say depressed, but I'd feel a lack of purpose. So I think having the challenges, and you were very much the same, I know, even though I'm commenting about you without you saying anything, that we thrive on problems. Yeah. Because I know the game you're on, the creative game, you are solving a problem for someone, you do a service for someone, something they can't do. And without having that purpose, I think both of us would suffer. And I know some days, like yesterday, I was thinking, I felt really shattered last night. I was trying to talk to my missus, and I was just a bit like I was blue. I was really messed up. Yeah. I was mega tired last night. Yeah. And I think if everything got pulled away now, I would be devastated. So you have to be. I don't like to use the word grateful, because everything I've got to so far, I've worked hard for, hasn't been given in any way. So, but I just appreciate where I am with everything and what we've currently growing, and just the position I'm in, really. So yeah.
So like, I guess one last question. What does success look like to you? I think a lot of people have different definitions of what that word means. Some people are motivated like by money. Some people are motivated by a lot of different things. So like their idea of success is different. I guess, what does that mean to you right now? Because I'm aware that like as you grow and you learn and the things around you change, I think your idea of success change and the goalposts change. Right now, what does like success look like?
A class question. Thanks. For me now, it was more about creating an environment for people to thriving and on the journey that we are on as well. So like even with everyone here now is just creating different things where people enjoy, get like a benefit like we do. Obviously you have to have money involved in what you're doing, because without that, that's how the world turns. Unfortunately, when people say, motivated by money, it's a lie, because you do need money to sustain, especially in the UK at the minute as well. I find you need a lot more than what you used to have. Like I remember leaving school thinking, if I have, I don't know, 1,500, $2,000 a month, right, I'm going to have a mortgage, a mint car. Because at the time, I think a mortgage was like £200-300 or whatever. Now everything's so astronomically priced, you need a lot more. But I just think creating a nice environment. So when, like for a business, that's why I like creating a business where you have a sustained amount of revenue coming in, where you feel comfortable to be able to employ people and be in a position where you're seen as the forefront of whatever you're doing from other people in the industry. So like other competitors seeing, fair play, they're a strong company in that field. And then internally creating like a good environment as well. So for me, it's not so much, everyone says the same thing about the money side, but it's having enough money for everyone to feel comfortable on the journey. Because it is a bad, I've been there where you haven't got enough money coming in or something happens, and it's not a nice position to be in. So I don't think it's about generating lots of money. It's about just having enough custom coming in to provide a good service for people, but at the same time, keeping everyone happy along the way. So,
yeah, nice. Good answer.
Well, that kind of.
So that's it for this episode. Hopefully that'll give you a bit of insight about Aron and everything, about him, his background, his experience, and what he kind of brings to the table. If this stuff is useful to you, if you like it in any way, if it's provided any kind of value to you, then like and subscribe, because it really does help the channel. And see you on the next one. Same again.